The felon got an MRI. Let's look into that. Welcome to Scrying Out Loud. My name is Trevor. First off, a huge thank you to everybody who's subscribed to the channel. Thank you for your likes, your watches, your comments, sharing the videos, watching them all the way to the end. These are the things that make the channel grow. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you've donated money to the channel through Buy Me Coffee, Venmo, the Super Thanks, a huge thank you. It's all greatly, greatly appreciated. So the felon discloses that he had an MRI. Didn't say anything more than that, was vaguely ambiguous. If you look back on when he visited Walter Reed the second time, and I think I had read the doctor's thing, I said, and it said advanced imaging things, and I thought, what is that? Well, clearly that's the MRI. So the question is, what were they looking at? Why would they give a 79-year-old man an MRI? I'm guessing since he said it was perfect, it was probably something important. I have some thoughts on that. Now, a few days ago, or maybe it was over the weekend, I did a chakra reading on him, and there were certain parts that really stood out as having some really unbalanced portions to it. One was his heart chakra, and the others were like his crown chakra and also his root chakra. And then his solar plexus seemed really on kind of fire. Now, your solar plexus is kind of your abdomen area, is where it would be. Now, we'll look into the MRIs, but there are other things that we need to look at as well. Is the US going to go to war with Venezuela? Let's just, people have been asking. I have my thoughts, but we'll throw some cards on that. A couple people have asked, and a couple people from Patreon as well. Uh, is China going to try to start something with Taiwan, and particularly after the felon's gone? Are they going to use that time period to maybe try something? Um, I think we should also look at Pete Buttigieg running for president. There were some polls that came out with Democratic primary polls for 2028, which is way away. So polling basically is meaningless. Uh, but they looked at Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. So this is New England, or Upper New England. And Buttigieg, I think, was either ahead or tied in all of the states, followed closely behind by some other people like Gavin Newsom. So I'm going to look at him to see if he could possibly win the nomination and win the presidency. I have some other things on my list, but I think that's probably long enough. So I'll save this for tomorrow. Um, okay, let's start with Venezuela. Okay, so this is just the Rider-Waite tarot deck. It's kind of been reimagined, aged, gilded. It's made by Craft Cards. You can find it on Amazon. A couple of you have been asking. Okay, as is this one as well, just aged slightly differently. Okay, so you're just going to go to war with Venezuela. So, the Felons Administration's been bombing boats that they're claiming are drug cartel boats. Uh, and there's been some threats against Venezuela. I'm not exactly sure why they would do that necessarily. It's kind of a conundrum. Like you never know whether he's just thinking of elaborate ways of propping up oil prices, which are quite low. Uh, Although gas prices aren't particularly low, but oil prices have been particularly low. Propping up oil prices could basically negate some of the Russian oil sanctions. Uh, so he could be helping out his friend Putin, for example, or he could just be, I'll just say it, plain stupid. No clue. It's too, his energy is so over the map that I, I think I described it one day as a ping pong ball going between, two walls really, really fast. At this point in time, it's more like, a wall repeatedly being hit with rotten tomatoes is what it kind of looks like. It's like, but it's like constant. Like there's always something, but nothing seems to resonate and bounce back. So I at this point in time, don't think his cognitive health is very good. We'll look into that, of course, when we get to the MRI question. See, this could have just been an impulse statement, and I think that's what it was. When I was scrying on this, it seemed impulsive, as did the statement, I got an MRI. I don't think he meant to say either one of them. And I think this is going to get more and more dangerous as time goes on. Don't get me wrong, I think we'll be fine. It's just he's going to say more and more crazy things. So we get the Five of Cups, which is loss. Actually, that's a pretty positive card. Um, to a war with Venezuela would bring loss. Um, but I think they know that. We get the Four of Cups. I think they also know that the people in the United States really wouldn't be okay with it. Like, you know, uh, my generation in particular, and I'm starting to get a little bit older. I mean, we were this country has been at war since I was, or it's not currently at war, but from the time I was like 20 to 40 something, this country was at war. So I don't think people in my demographic would go very much for that. I think we're kind of over it. Um, and I think others feel the same. Everybody has gone through those 20 years of just constant war. He's certainly planting some seeds here. We'll have to see what that means in just a second. The world will be watching. I don't think the world would take too kindly to this either. And I'm just waiting for the day when a country announces that they're putting tariffs on the US or they're going to stop trading with the US. Because I think that if he keeps this up, these are the types of things that are going to happen. I think ultimately he goes before those things do happen. We do get the Five of Cups fighting conflict, and it's just starting to come together. The Devil card, toxicity, misinformation, misdirection, um, entrapment, enslavement. And we get temperance, moderation, and the Seven of Swords, deceit, deception, dishonesty. They're not telling us the truth about these boats. I'm pretty sure about that. And we get the Eight of Wands, things happening quickly. So, um, I think it would be a loss for his administration. I think fighting, if there is any, would be over rather quickly. I don't think there will be any. I think moderation comes to the rescue here, and the fighting is really just something that's imagined in his head. Because I just don't, I think, the people around him, while most of them aren't particularly like what I would call smart. Um, they're not all, some of them are savvy, politically savvy. I think they know that the world really wouldn't stand for this unprovoked war. And the people in the country, more importantly, wouldn't stand for it. And I think everybody would know that it's based on misinformation and lies and deceits. So, um, I don't think so. I think emotions would run high. I think it would cause a lot of anxiety. I think they'd be really surprised by the way with the Page of Cups, by the way the world would react, especially when it comes to trade. Like, I don't think they put sanctions on the US or anything like quite that extreme, but you know, just you just slowly cut back buying things from the United States, right? And ultimately, this leads to judgment and probably some judgment of the world's court as well. Um, with the Eight of Swords there. So I don't think so. I think they know that it's a bad idea. And I think that's where this that star card that keeps popping up for the country keeps coming into play. I think there's enough reasonable people that they wouldn't let this happen. Okay, what about China and Taiwan? What do we need to know about this? So the exact question was, you know, something along the lines of would China take advantage of the situation if the felon passes to attack Taiwan? Um, I just don't think so. It kind of feels like they'll threaten them. Uh, like they like to be the bullies militarily in that part of the world, but I don't think they'd actually go through with anything. I hope that's right. It feels right. It feels like they're just trying to send a message to, you know, that they have military might in the region, I guess is the broader point. So we get the truth, the Ace of Swords to start with. And that card wasn't meant to be in there. That's just the card from the deck. I forgot to take it out. And we get strength. So yeah, I mean, this is more a diplomatic type of energy than a war energy. Well, we do get the Five of Swords here. We'll have to see what that means in a second. Um, the Seven of, sorry, the Eight of Pentacles. If one plan doesn't work, try another. Instability at the center. I just don't think economically China could handle it right now. I think that's the bigger thing. We need to get another stability card here with the Queen of Pentacles. Yeah, I don't think it's in the cards. We had illusion and delusion. Yeah. We get an inevitability, but I don't think it's what it might appear. And we get the moon card, volatility. And then I picked this card up, which is victory. The Six of Sword or Six of Wands. So I think the truth is that China's focused on stability and not wanting to upset the boat too much economically. I think they're preparing for the world to be having economic issues. Now, I don't know that that comes to pass. I think China has economic issues, um, but I don't know that expands. Like South Korea, reported a really good GDP today. Um, I think it's illusion and delusion. I think they choose stability over war. I just think it's quite that simple. I think that there's, perhaps a diplomatic uh, resolution here, like you back off Taiwan and we'll open up more trade with somebody. Uh, So I think that's the other plans. And I think the three of wands here is actually more about trade and overseas travel in that sense than an inevitability. And I think we get stability with, or we do get stability with the Queen of Pentacles. I don't think so. I think this is, I mean, they've been saying this since I was a kid. So, China's going to attack Taiwan. So it hasn't happened yet. It's kind of like, the end of the world is coming. I'm not saying it won't ever happen. I don't think so. I don't get that sense. Hopefully I'm right. Um, yeah, and the magician card and then wish fulfillment. So yeah, I don't think so. Um, okay, let's look at Mayor Pete here. Mayor Pete is an intriguing candidate for a number of reasons. One, he's very well spoken. Uh, he's clearly intelligent. Is he free of baggage? No. There was kind of that statement in Vice President Harris's book about, the country not being ready for a member of the LGBTQ community to be president. Maybe not. But Wisconsin's got Tammy Baldwin as senator, and it's not exactly the most liberal state in the world. Colorado has Jared Polis as governor. Uh, Massachusetts uh, has a lesbian governor. And I don't think it was Austin. Was it Houston that elected a lesbian mayor? I think it was Houston. Now, I'm not saying that those states aren't Georgia, for example, which the Democrats kind of need to win Georgia at this point. That's really their path to the presidency. Yeah, Georgia or North Carolina, Nevada and Arizona. These are the states you should think about as being close. Um, so let's first just ask, can he win the nomination? Let's start there, and then we'll ask if that's affirmative, then we'll ask whether he can win the presidency. I was somewhat surprised that Vice President Harris was polling in the middle of the pack in those three states, but like I said, it's the polls are basically meaningless. And most people think she's not going to run. This is kind of new news that she announced that she might run. So I wouldn't read too much into that. Let's see here. He does bring a moderate approach. It's interesting. If you were to line up the Democratic candidates and rank them from, moderate to liberal, because none of them are conservative, or at least I don't see conservative entering the race. He's on the moderate side. He's like the Joe Biden kind of Democrat, right? Might govern very liberally, but will come across quite moderately. I don't know that that's a good thing, by the way, in the Democratic primary. We'll have to see. Uh, the challenge is death for him. You know, I think this is about ending, the stigma. Will Democratic voters nominate somebody that they feel is risky? It's a really interesting question because if we go back to 2020, and when Buttigieg was in that race, and I think he won Iowa, right? And came second in New Hampshire, something like that. And then South Carolina came and Biden won by a landslide. And then uh, everybody dropped out and endorsed Biden. And then on Super Tuesday, Biden won all but three of the states, I think. And then COVID broke out and things got weird. And then it was Biden and Sanders, and Biden won every single state. Bernie Sanders didn't win another state. After that, to my recollection, I think that's right. So it's it's kind of interesting what the Democratic primary voters will do. They tend to go with who they think will win. They're very pragmatic. And the subconscious, we get the devil toxicity. I think he worries about this question himself on whether he can not only win the primary, but win the general election. And I think he worries about a lot of slander against his family. Now, I think he'll run, by the way. I think there's very little chance that he does not run, unless something really disturbing comes out about him, which I don't get that sense. With the tower and the past, and that's four major arcanas in a row here, first off. The tower in the past was the felon. That's all that is. Um, we get illusion and delusion in the sky. Uh, we get the Ten of Pentacles as the near-term outcome, which is the end of a cycle. Also, I think he'd have an easy time fundraising. The way he sees it is he sees himself as transformational, and he would be, right? I mean, he's young. Uh, he would break down some barriers and some stigmas. It would definitely be a new look for the country. The way others see him as a choice. I think people see him as a viable choice in the Democratic primary. With the lovers card there. The hopes and fears, though, is the Eight of Swords, that this would suddenly be all about his sexual orientation and what other absurd things that Republicans can cook up. That's definitely a fear. And the outcome is anxiety. That's actually a pretty positive card for him, because I do think that would be the reaction of Democratic voters if he won the nomination. I think they'd work hard to elect him. We get the King of Pentacles, which of course is the card for the felon. And we get the Knight of Swords. I'm going to go one more here. We get the Page of Swords. So maybe. I, I would lean towards no, but maybe. Again, I think it matters who's in the race. But, I think Democratic voters would surprise some people on this one. Like, Buttigieg winning Iowa makes sense to me. Buttigieg winning California would not. Buttigieg winning Michigan makes sense, like in the Democratic primary. Uh, Buttigieg winning New Hampshire makes sense. Buttigieg winning South Carolina doesn't, but Gavin Newsom winning South Carolina doesn't seem right either. So, yeah, I think he's preparing to run for a number of reasons. Like, he's done some really good things, like helping with transportation in the South, for example, working on uh, transportation in Alabama and Georgia when he was transportation secretary. This was not a fluke. And Biden, I think, was kind of, uh, I think, hoping he would take over, because I don't think Biden thought Harris wanted to be president. Um, I mean, he elevated Buttigieg by making him transportation secretary. So I think um, I think he would do okay in the primary. It wouldn't be one of these situations where he can't raise any money and he's out. Like that would be more likely to happen to JB Pritzker, although Pritzker has his own money to spend, uh, than Buttigieg, or Whitmer, right? I'm not saying either one of these that Whitmer will run, Pritzker will run. It's going to be a big field, which I think is good. If it's a competitive primary, I think Democrats do quite well. I don't know that the nominee actually even matters, to be honest with you, but can Buttigieg beat whoever the Republicans nominate in 28, which is probably Vance. I can't think of anybody else that makes sense. Uh, maybe Mike DeWine, but I think he's probably too old. Uh, this is a good start. Justice at the foundation. People giving him a fair shot. His challenge is having to defend himself from all sorts of accusations, some true, some false, most of them false. Um, and the subconscious is judgment. Now, that's not necessarily a bad card. It's not a great card, but it's not a bad card in the subconscious. I think it's a fear of being judged in a way. I think, possibilities seemed broader in 2020, right? Getting rid of the felon, uh, although it turned out to be a close election with Biden beating him. Um, in the past, we get complete and utter downfall. So this is the defeat the first time around. And he was cruising pretty well in the Democratic primary. And then, you know, South Carolina was the end of it, right? That's just kind of the end all. Uh, and we had the COVID starting to circulate, people starting to worry and talk. We get the Wheel of Fortune crowning the reading. It's a 50-50 shot. Like it's not like he's guaranteed to lose or anything. The tower in the near term future, though, it would be tearing down structures and norms. He sees himself as the Hierophant, like elevating humanity. I don't think he thinks that arrogantly about it. I think it's just like he realizes it would be breaking some ceilings, so to speak. The way other people see him is as a magician, which is quite a good card. The hopes and fears is the Fool card. New beginnings. The outcome is the Five of Wands. It would be a close election, but every election in this country is close for president. So uh, that's just the way it is. There'll definitely be lies and misinformation about him with the Devil card. But we get the Knight of Cups. I'm gonna go one more, and then we get the King of Cups, which is used to be my card for Biden, and then it's my card for the Democrats. Um, Anxiety, the Nine of Swords, the Five of Pentacles, the Page of Cups, bombshells and surprises, the Page of Wands, and the Ten of Wands. Um, it'd be a heavy lift, but the truth is, it's a heavy lift for everybody at this point. The energies are so far out. Um, there's as good a chance that we've never even thought of the person running that wins, right? It's a ways out. Okay. So the felon gets an MRI. I hmm, I don't want to use this deck. Use this deck. So the felon gets an MRI. What do we need to know about that? And then we'll we'll narrow it down a little bit if we need to. Do we need to know about the felon get an MRI? So some possibilities are that they looked at blood flow in his brain uh, because he's having cognitive issues. That's certainly a real possibility. Other possibilities are they looked at his cardiovascular system, particularly the legs where, the blood is pooling. Um, could just be checking out a bunch of arteries too, just to, make sure there's nothing that needs to be addressed. That's a possibility. Could be a cancer screening. That's also a possibility. Less likely would be like a muscular skeletal thing, like something wrong with his knee. It hurts when he plays golf. I don't buy that. Could be checking to see why he's having balance issues. That's certainly a possibility. Now, I think it's actually two things. So when I did the chakra, the solar plexus was lit up. Like that was kind of the only chakra that was like really lit up, which makes me think that it was being looked at. Now that, is in the kind of, your abdomen region. So I don't know if he's having some discomfort, if they're looking to check, pancreatic imaging for pancreatic cancer, for example, kidney cancer, liver cancer. These are certainly possibilities. Um, a cognitive, I'm pretty sure he failed the verbal cognitive test because I just can't imagine he passed. He can't even remember where he is half the time. So I don't think that he passed that test. And they could be looking for balance issues as well, which, you know, going in and checking to see, if everything's working right with the brain. So what do we need to know about this? If I had to wager a bet, if you forced me to, I think this was an exploratory thing because they can't explain a lot of the symptoms that he has. That'd be my guess. They just decided to go looking to see if they could find them. I feel like he's having some gastrointestinal issues. I think he's also definitely has congestive heart failure. But I think there's something alarming. He had some sort of alarming symptom that they couldn't figure out. So I think it probably was in the cancer screening range and possibly cardiovascular screening. That's what it feels like to me. But let's see what the cards have to say. So with the moon cards, some volatility, things not functioning within normal parameters. This feels gastrointestinal. We know about the heart issue already. This isn't surprising. So we know there's some gastrointestinal issues. Were rumors that he was wearing a catheter at one time. There's rumors he wears diapers, of course. People say he smells. There's rumors too that he's had colon cancer in the past. Uh, whatever it is, it's quite worrying. The results were not perfect. They're worrying to the doctors. We get the Ten of Cups, families, reunions, and celebrations. And it's also kind of my card for Epstein stuff and kind of, him thinking about his family. I know it's hard to believe that he can do that, but I think he can. Not in a compassionate way, just in a very sort of financial planning type of way. The five of wands, that card feels really hot. Um, I think there's a lot of disagreement about the MRI results, like on what to do, what's the next step, not necessarily what the results were, but what the next step should be. It's not good. The tower card at the center, not good. The results were very worrying. Not sure how to proceed. Something's not functioning right. Like hmm. The chariot card, forward movement or movement. Um, this is also the card for Cancer, by the way. Like the astrological sign of Cancer. Just saying. Actually, isn't the moon card the Cancer card too? Hang on a second. So I just paused that to Google the. So the chariot is the Cancer card. The moon is Pisces, but Cancer is ruled by the moon. That's why I got confused. Um, okay. Messages coming forward about his health. I think the White House is going to have to defend themselves on this one. Read the card for the voters. So something's not working, right? Something's volatile. It's failing. They're going to have a hard time keeping this from the voters. I don't think he meant to say that he had an MRI. I think that slipped. I really do. I don't think he meant to say it. Uh, something's not working right. He's definitely been thinking about his family. The cherry card being the card for Cancer, which I know that's it's a weird way to think about it, but that would explain why it's concerning and doctors aren't sure on how to proceed. And they're going to have to defend this. Um, we're going to have to clarify here. So, like we've talked about, they're on plan C, D, and F with his health. The Eight of Pentacles, and then the Hanged Man. We're just gonna have to wait. We're gonna get the answers on that one. Let's just ask if he actually has some cancer. It would explain a lot. Like his skin has a weird tone to it when it's not covered in the orange bronzer. The truth is, I think there's just a whole bunch of things wrong with him. I think he's got congestive heart failure. That part I'm pretty sure of. I think he's got some form of dementia, which form exactly, I'm not sure. I don't think it matters. They're all bad. Um, it's always felt like there's something wrong, with the kidneys, perhaps. That bruising on the hand, blood thinners for the heart. But also, you know, it's possible that there's something wrong with his pancreas, right? Like for people that have like really serious diabetes, right? Wounds are hard to heal. And you would think that bruise on the hand would be gone by now, right? I mean, just look, does he have something wrong with this? Definitely feels like it's on the right side of his body. All right, let's just ask it this way. Does he have a cancer of some sort? Things behind the scenes that we can't see. The High Priestess, Temperance, Moderation, the Hanged Man. I mean, it's three yes cards, three major arcanas as well. Circles of support around his health. I think he's got good doctors. We've talked about that. The sun is shining, full revelation. It's also a yes card. Uh, the King of Wands, some sort of fire, like a pain. It's causing a pain. You know, there was that video where he like did the neck twitch. People were talking about that a few months, maybe a month ago. I don't remember when it was. Um, it feels like he's having some we get wish fulfillment or greed, the Nine of Cups. Cups and Seven of Pentacles, seeds being planted, and anxiety again. Underneath, we have partnerships, new beginnings, and victory. Moving out of troubled water, the end of a life cycle, the world card, and ill health. I wouldn't be surprised. You know, they keep us in the dark on everything. Does he have cancer of some sort? Well, he's 79. You know, he eats only carcinogens from McDonald's and drinks a bunch of Diet Coke, which isn't in of itself that harmful, and but in large quantities, it certainly can cause cancer. Um, the bruising on his hand, that's always confused me. I know that can be caused by blood thinners, but you still have to be like getting your hand touched all the time, right? It's more like a bruise that hasn't healed. That maybe makes me think more like the some sort of pancreas problem, but we'll know soon enough. He's not going to be around that much longer, I don't think. So, all right. Thank you for watching. I'll be back with another video soon.